Stop. One sec. Oh, that's better. What is up, guys? It's your boy CGDannyB, but you can just call me Danny, and welcome back to Gnomenclature. So, without a doubt, 2020 just as a whole has been just god-awful. With wildfires, killer wasps, and honestly, the biggest spread of a disease I've ever had in my lifetime, 2020 just sucked. But when we look on the bright side and reflect on the amazing games we've played this year, 2020 was a strong year of incredible games. And as we're about to roll into January of 2021, you know what time it is. It's time to break down my top 10 games of 2020. Now, I only have one real rule for these top 10, 2020, whatever videos that I do, and that's that the game had to release in this respective year. So even though Among Us was huge in 2020, people were playing it everywhere, YouTube, Twitch, the whole 9 yards, the game initially released in 2018, so it will not find itself on this list. Even though I think if it did come out this year, it would probably be on here, because this game is pretty great, it's a phenomenon, pretty dope. Sadly, it's not though. Not that hard, right? Now, as most of the top 10 videos on this channel go, we have to start with my honorable mentions. These are all games that I thoroughly enjoyed this year. They just weren't in my top 10, but I wanted to make sure they got recognized for how much I enjoyed them. Now please, if you would give a round of applause for the honorable mentions. Honorable mentions. Panzer Paladin. Spiritfarer. Godfall. A Fold Apart. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. Resident Evil 3. Ghost Runner. Minecraft Dungeons. Bugsnax.
Thanks, bro.
Maneater. The Pathless. Now, before we move on to the official top 10, I do need to talk about the elephant in the room that is Cyberpunk 2077. I've had a decent-ish time with this game, but honestly, it's broken down enough where I haven't had a true experience with it yet. It's glitched, I've fallen through the world, and just all kinds of garbage that really didn't give me a chance to invest the time that I wanted into Cyberpunk, which is really unfortunate because it was my most anticipated game for this year. But sadly, the console version is just not where it needs to be. So hopefully when it gets an official PS5 release and I get the free digital upgrade or whatever, I'll actually be able to play this game, and maybe I'll cheat a little bit and it'll be my top 10 for 2021. Debatable, but yeah, sorry Cyberpunk, I wish this turned out better. Okay, no more sad talk, let's talk about the top 10. Journey to the Savage Planet. This game is something else. A game that I remember seeing and honestly had no plans to ever play it. But one day it was on sale on the PlayStation Store, and those gamer urges to just buy a game you don't really need struck hard. You play as a test subject astronaut who's blasted into space to discover an abandoned planet and the weird, messed up creatures that inhabit it. After my first play session with Journey to the Savage Planet, it became that game that when my friends wanted me to join a PlayStation party, I would continue to play it while I laughed at the hilarious jokes, and then had to explain them to everybody in the party. With your multiple mobility options, the diversity in the wildlife, and the hilarious sense of humor, Journey to the Savage Planet is a fun experience when you're looking to just veg out and have a good time. The game doesn't do anything particularly unique or original, but the comedic writing along with the enjoyable gameplay makes it a gaming experience that you won't easily forget. I played through the story twice to get both endings and experience all that Journey to the Savage Planet had to offer. It was also one of the few games I've ever gone back to fully play through the DLC. Now, to be fair, I did technically beat the game maybe a week before the DLC dropped, so I was already in that zone and didn't really have to force myself to go back to an old game, but I still enjoyed that expansion. It was really fun and it just gave me more time to stay in Journey to the Savage Planet. So if you're looking for an out of this world and goofy AA experience, I suggest you look into Journey to the Savage Planet. And if you need just a bit more information about it, when you're done here, you should make sure you head over to the playlist of other Gnomenclature videos, where you can find a full video on Journey to the Savage Planet. There's my shameless self-promotion for the video, so I'll get that out of the way early. So there, you're welcome.
Animal Crossing.
In a time where we literally couldn't have human interaction, Animal Crossing New Horizons made it possible to still be social while being socially distant. I've gotten my hands on each Animal Crossing since the GameCube, and I've never really invested more than a week into any of them. But New Horizon was just a different beast. Being able to wake up every day and just walk around my island, picking up sticks, digging up fossils, and buying everything new in the shop made each and every day on Gullah Gullah Island mellow and relaxing. Except when I simply tried to find all the coins and got chased down by a swarm of angry bees. Please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. Now, to be fair, Animal Crossing New Horizons multiplayer is without a doubt, it's pretty garbage. Having to wait like 10 minutes for your friends to basically walk around your island, not really able to do anything, I don't know what Nintendo was thinking. They could have done this better. They really could have. But we did have a significantly better time. We were just sitting in a Discord call, talking about what new villagers we each found on our islands, and how we wanted to steal each other's fruit. I know the to-do list of chores and slow-paced gameplay isn't for everybody, but Animal Crossing reached a massive audience this year. There was a solid month where everything on TikTok was Animal Crossing. Seeing Instagram models and celebrities just chilling in their bougie living rooms watering their flowers. Now, I really haven't had a desire to go visit my villagers in quite a few months, but every now and again I stop and think if Sherb and Lolly truly miss me. I should really go visit them today. Alright, give me a sec, because I need a snack before this next one. After years of the Battle Royale genre becoming fairly stale, Fall Guys made its way onto the scene and mixed things up for the better. Rather than dropping from the sky, cranking 90s, and surviving the gulag, you run through absurd, goofy, and insane obstacle courses, trying to be the last jelly bean boy standing. There was about a month where every waking moment I was playing Fall Guys, and that was because the heart-pounding energy of competing for that #1 spot was more abundant than ever before for me. Knowing that at any moment that moron behind me could grab a hold of my neck and slow me down just enough to lose my spot in the final round was so stressful. So I had to get myself as far ahead of the pack as possible to avoid even brushing shoulders with the other paint-splattered potatoes and get to the top of Slime Climb before they even had a chance to trip over their own 2 feet. That being said, it's still like 50% skill, 50% luck. Because the idiot in front of me that doesn't know how to jump over a horizontal bar would trip me up and drag me down with him. But those irritations never stopped me from grinding out dubs and trying to find the best way to come in first on every level. And then try to score 5 wins in a row so I can finally get the damn platinum for this game. I swear to God, please Mediatonic, I need some kind of private mode because something stupid happens every time and I can't get the 5 wins in a row. And honestly, it's the only trophy I need and I just want the platinum done. I just want it done. Please. I need a private mode. I adored my time with Fall Guys this year, and even though after that first season I haven't truly invested as much time in it, I know that each season when they release new content, I'll be sure to load up the game, check out the new levels, and see which ones will piss off my friends with the worst hand-eye coordination.
That hammer saved my life.
What? What? The timer was at 0, the fucking thing was popping up! What?
Roll call, baby, let's go! Yeah! Number 7 on the list is Rogue Company. Without a doubt, my favorite multiplayer game from this year, Rogue Company is a third-person shooter about buying guns and using them to kill a bunch of people in masks and tight-ass yoga pants. Every character has an individual activatable and passive ability, as well as varied loadouts, but otherwise, every character basically plays the same. The game focuses on team play, centered around 3 main game modes: Demolition, Extraction, and Strikeout, with the occasional LTM thrown into the mix. I love the intensity of racing for that last minute defuse, knowing there's still one person on the enemy team ready to murk you as soon as you kneel down to stop the bomb. It's kind of how I imagine Siege to be, but with a significantly less toxic community. Well, for now anyway. Please, Rogue Company, stay nice. Please? So the funny story with Rogue Company is that I actually signed up for the alpha a long time ago when it was revealed at a Nintendo Direct. And then one day I saw some other creator friends of mine playing it, and I went digging for my code to discover they never gave it to me. Too bad, so sad. Oh well, I'll play it someday. And that was just kind of my mindset with it. But then they sent me the email asking me to review the alpha. How did you like it? What did you think? This, that, and the other. So I went digging again just to make sure I didn't miss it. And no, I didn't. They never sent me the game and then asked me what I thought about the game. I was losing my mind. I was pissed. Genuinely pissed. Because obviously it was on some list somewhere to say this guy gets the alpha, but we didn't give it to him. So again, I was just like, I was pissed that I didn't get it, but they asked me to review it, and Luckily I decided to be a nice boy. I didn't do anything. I didn't do any surveys, reviews, anything. I just let it go, deleted the email. And luckily, the game came out later in beta, and I really liked it. Like a lot. Like a lot. I've probably already spent like $150 on the game. Often when I try new multiplayer games, I don't truly commit to them. I play them for a few weeks and then drop it. But there are some of those games that truly shine and take over my life, like Overwatch and even Fortnite for a few seasons. And Rogue Company has found its way onto that list of multiplayer games that I will be sinking a lot of time and money into. Especially if they give me a bunch of really cool, like, legendary glitch skins. You know, it'd be really cool if they did one that was Wrench from Watch Dogs, and it was just like, oh. Listen, Rogue Company, you got some stuff to do. I need my boy Glitch needs some love. That money skin is lit, but I need a little bit more. I need to spend $20 on a skin for it, you know what I mean? Like, set me up.
Animal.
All right. Nah, this time I really mean it. Doom Eternal. When Doom Eternal was announced a few years ago, I was fresh off the hype train of someone who'd played Doom 2016 hella late. Doom 2016 was my introductory to the franchise. I had never played a Doom game before that, and I loved the fast-paced, methodical, and insanely gory combat. And then other games that borrowed the same formula, such as Wolfenstein and Rage 2, just increased that amount of love for that gameplay even more. It was a satisfying change up from the generic first-person shooter type of gameplay. And even though Doom Eternal didn't make as many innovations to the genre as its predecessor did, Eternal left me in a zone of consistently wanting to veg out with my headphones cranked to max volume and just slaughter demons. The challenge was consistent. Never did I feel like I was getting too powerful as the Doomslayer. It was as if the world leveled up with me. And I never felt this more than while fighting that godforsaken Marauder, who's probably one of, if not the most frustrating boss fight I've ever dealt with, that repeatedly had me ripping my hair out. Yeah, that would explain it. But with that being said, I don't want to take away from how badass you feel when you're playing as the Doomslayer. You're just crushing skulls and snapping noses and whatever other stuff, dude. You feel like an absolute tank of a human being. The impressive amount of upgrades for your arsenal of weapons made every combat encounter feel different, encouraging me to focus on using all of my weapons rather than just my overpowered shotgun. And the various takedowns for each type of demon kept me experimenting with how I can successfully kill an enemy by snapping its spine or cramming its horn through its own skull. But I think one of the top selling things for Doom Eternal was how well it went along with the Animal Crossing release and the memes and everything, and Doomslayer and Isabelle being like, oh, I love each other's game, and then you had little clips of the Doomslayer sitting on his couch watering his plants, and then you had Isabelle with a shotgun just like, what's up, bang, like that was a good time. I don't think there was a better time to be alive than those, like that meme period. It's a good time. All I can really say about this next game is that I am so happy that they took such an obscure character from Smash Bros. And gave him his own video game. And the video game blew up so much that they took the bad guy and put him in Smash Bros. Like, video games are cool, dude. Final Fantasy VII Remake takes the 5th spot on my list. If you've ever seen me talk about this game in any other video, you know that I'm not a fan of JRPGs, and more importantly, not a fan of the Final Fantasy series. And before this year, I have not enjoyed a single entry into the franchise. But with the first entry of the new Final Fantasy VII Remake saga out of who knows how many, I'm really excited for the future of Final Fantasy. Most people who love this remake have nostalgia to look back upon, and reflect on whether they prefer that over the new iteration. But with someone who has little to no experience with Final Fantasy VII Original, all of my opinions are based in a world where I know this game came from some source material, but I don't know it thoroughly enough to compare. And my first true experience with Cloud as a smallish man with spiky hair who likes to swing around a big sword was a positive one. The opportunity to escape into a world of an evil organization trying to harness the Earth's energy to do, something? I may have missed this part, or they didn't explain it yet. I'm not sure. All I know is I get to be this pretty cool dude who gets to choose between not one, not two, but 3 smoking hot ladies. When in real life I don't even get to pick one. So, escapism, it's great. The fast-paced nature of the combat kept me enthralled almost the entire time. Not only was I responsible for inputting my weapon attack commands, but I was also capable of essentially slowing down the whole world and setting up my team to attack with their special abilities, unleashing an onslaught of multiple spectacular attacks all at once. I still can't say that I'm a big Final Fantasy fan just yet, but I'm excited to try Final Fantasy XVI someday and see if it shapes a new era of Final Fantasy games for schmucks like me. Spider-Man Miles Morales, though not a full sequel and more of a spin-off, does everything right by improving on the formula of the original game. New abilities, fresh mobility, and a young, black Spider-Man. Gives me someone I can look up to even though I'm like probably 10 years older than Miles. Something we definitely don't need any more of is Peter Parker's origin story. So when the 2018 game released with an older seasoned Spider-Man, we kind of skipped that whole process of seeing our character grow and learn how to become the superhero. But having a young, inexperienced Spider-Man in Miles gave us that opportunity, while making sure that it wasn't Uncle Ben dying again for the 74th time. What I enjoy about Miles' story is that his physical capabilities are on par with Peter's, but the struggle of being inexperienced and having to decide what moves to make, what actions to take, and how to become the hero that his mentor wants him to be, made seeing Miles' story unfold that much more enjoyable. The story of Spider-Man Miles Morales was way shorter than 2018's, but that made the fluff of content basically non-existent, and I feel like I should give my opinions on the whole exaggerated swagger of a black teen thing. Look, I get it. I get it. Miles being a young black teen in Brooklyn, and you know, there is a particular swagger about the way he does things compared to Peter. I do get it. So Jordan, I get you. I feel you, my guy. I feel what you're saying. But it was still kind of weird. All in all, I thoroughly enjoyed my first outing as Miles the superhero. And I can't wait to see what's to come next in a true Spider-Man sequel. Especially with this flirty romance with Haley. Sorry Finn, I know you and Miles have this pseudo flirty romance thing going on, but he deserves better, so Haley all day, baby. You know what's hard? Sequels. Do you know what sequel I thought was pretty damn good? Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Ori and the Blind Forest was such a beautiful game, arguably the most eye-catching and astonishing 2D platformer to ever exist. Now, tell me how they did that again, but better. Ori and the Will of the Wisps took a lot of inspiration from other Metroidvanias released since the first game and implemented them into Ori's formula. adding an energy sword to combat, charms to swap out and upgrade your stats, and a new owl baby brother to look after on our journey. All these mechanics are going to be crucial when it comes to defeating the enormous and life-threatening bosses, especially that damn spider that really pissed me off. I probably spent a good hour and a half or something fighting that thing. I could not get it, and when I did, I felt good. I felt really good. I felt great. The incredible attention to detail, not only visually, but audibly as well, made for an immersive experience all around. Listening to the different creatures in the forest of Nibel gurgle and grunt as they notice you encroaching on their territory, or even just the little pitter-patter of Ori's feet trekking across the thick tree roots. Even with the handful of technical issues at launch, such as frame drops, nothing was ever intrusive enough to ruin my experience that I had with Ori and the Will of the Wisp. And without spoiling the end of the game, I'm really interested in seeing where the story of Ori goes from here. Or something I'd also like to see is what else Moon Studios is capable of. I love to see another stunning indie darling take place somewhere else, maybe in a city or in space or something. Ori and the Blind Forest was one of the 2 games that pushed me to buy an Xbox, and Will of the Wisp just further justified my purchase of the console. And I love this game so much that I asked for this collector's edition for Christmas, right? This honestly is not the best collector's edition. It comes with an art book and a steelbook case. But I really wanted it because I played Ori on Game Pass, and I wanted to make sure that I owned Ori. So I now have it. I have Ori, and it is mine for eternity. We're just about done here, people, and at number 2, man, I really wish people didn't hate this game. And with that, I think it's very clear to say that number 2 on my list is The Last of Us Part 2. Twitter was ablaze when The Last of Us Part 2 won so much at the Game Awards a few weeks ago, let alone Game of the Year. I know a lot of people didn't like the story direction for The Last of Us Part 2, and I get it and respect those opinions. It wasn't a fun-loving, go-getter story that people wanted from a sequel that most people didn't even want in the first place. But the fact of the matter is, I absolutely disagree with those opinions. Yeah, it's a tough run, but I absolutely adored The Last of Us Part 2. Was it sad? Yep. Did a lot of brutal and violent things happen? Yep. Would I replay it all over again? Maybe not right away, but yep. The gameplay in and of itself is a masterpiece. The fluidity of the characters walking around the world, interacting with anything, felt so realistic. More realistic than most games should ever be. There's a rather vocal minority of people who will preach about how this game has an awful story, but I strongly disagree. I think the strongest storytelling element that The Last of Us Part 2 brings to the table is making us absolutely hate this Abby character and building her up as the bad guy, to then make us play as her at the halfway point of the adventure. And yeah, you bet I was pissed. I didn't want to play Abby. I hated this girl. She made my Ellie sad. But the progress of watching Abby's story progress and seeing the events in her life unfold gave a brand new perspective on who she is and why we shouldn't see her as the villain. Now, to be clear, I definitely enjoyed playing as Ellie more than I enjoyed playing as Abby, but that dramatic moment of riding through the burning village on horseback trying to escape the Seraphites, that was something else. I said this in my top 10 PlayStation 4 games when I talked about The Last of Us. One of the best realizations that I had throughout playing The Last of Us is that they started it by saying, Ellie's your hero, Abby's your villain. But once you play as Abby, you start to realize she's really not the villain. She's just doing the exact same thing Ellie is. She's out trying to just fend for herself and show that she's tough and she can survive in this apocalypse. So realistically, it's just saying everybody's an asshole out here. That doesn't necessarily mean that one's bad, one's good. You both kind of suck, but I just think that's really cool. I think that's a direction I didn't expect the story to go in, and I'm kind of glad that it did. I went into 2020 knowing that this game was going to absolutely be a contender for everybody for Game of the Year. And it turns out maybe it wasn't that cut and dry, but for me it was still a runner. There was a good point throughout the year where I didn't know if it was going to be my Game of the Year or not. And it wasn't. Which means we have one more game to talk about. Ghost of Tsushima was a game that absolutely floundered my expectations. As a Sony first-party game, I knew it would be fun and polished, but if I had to place it on this list based solely on expectation from last year, I'd have expected it somewhere in the 7 to 8 range, especially with the other games we were expecting this year. But damn, it just shattered any expectation I had. Sucker Punch has been known for their karma system with the Infamous games. And when it was shown that in Ghost we'd have both honorable and dishonorable ways of taking down our enemies, I expected something similar, but that wasn't the case. Your actions are solely your own. You won't get your uncle's praises at the end if you decide not to kill anybody from behind. You're given an incredible, well thought out story about a young samurai who wants to save his people no matter the cost. The persistent desire to explore the island of Tsushima made this game feel far less linear than I expected it to be, while it also never made me feel like I missed something important during my late night excursions of legendary armor and finding foxes to pet. Aside from the astonishing single player story, I also want to speak to the DLC multiplayer expansion, Ghost of Tsushima Legends. For me, games as a service have always been a short-lived experience, and that didn't change much with Ghost of Tsushima. My buddy Jimmy and I streamed through the full story of Legends one night on stream, and even though we had an incredible time with it, once we wrapped up that final mission, we just never picked it back up. I just didn't have much desire for grinding out levels for the raid or anything. So I've come to realize that's just the type of gamer I am. Once I finish the story you have for me, if I'm not on a trophy grind or anything else of the sort, I'm basically done with your game. However, the path Sucker Punch took with Legends checks all of the right boxes, giving me an action-packed, deep-rooted story revolving around a main character that satisfies my needs in a single-player, open-world action game, to then release a new multiplayer mode that simply gives me more to mess around with. Perfection. Imagine if Destiny had released with a strong single-player campaign, something in the realm of the original Halo games, and then once you wrap that up, you can now explore the various planets at your leisure, grind for loot, and face that final raid. Or if Marvel's Avengers focused more on building their versions of our favorite heroes, similar to how we were given SpiderMan. And yes, both of these examples do technically have campaigns, but if you ever tell me you played Destiny 1 for that story that was hidden primarily in grimoire cards on their website and not the amazing gunplay, come on, be honest with yourself. I haven't seen many opinions similar to mine on this matter, and to be honest, I haven't really looked into it. But as I sit and imagine the future of gaming, taking inspiration from this particular path that Ghost of Tsushima took, and really buckling down to give the players strong character development that then leads into fun experiences with your friends, well, that just sounds incredible. I'm just kind of picturing it with like Horizon, because there are rumors that they're doing a co-op or some kind of multiplayer mode, but it's like, hey, here's Horizon Forbidden West, and we play that and we're like, this game was great, this was awesome, I love it, and like now, do this in like a squad where 4 of you fight like a raid Thunderjaw or something, or one of the mammoths. Are like, oh, just like 4 people with tripwires and stuff. That would be so cool. But I'd want them to add that like in post. Be like, here's Horizon, and then oh, you beat the story? Here, fight with your friends. Like, I think that would be so great. And I think the way Ghost of Tsushima did this has laid out stepping stones for other games, probably for now, primarily PlayStation first party, to do this same thing. But I could easily see other games choosing to implement it later, and I think that'd be a huge change for the game industry that I personally would really like. And if that does happen, I can't help but thank Ghost of Tsushima for taking that leap of faith and potentially starting something brand new in the games industry. And there you have it, my top 10 games of 2020. These videos are always so much work. It comes down to me playing the games all year, taking notes, keeping a list, moving them up and down where I see fit, and on top of that, I'm currently working a full-time job, so it's basically working 2 full-time jobs all day and then coming home to do this, so it's exhausting and it's a lot of work, but I love doing it. So if you guys could do me a humongous favor, take 2 seconds to please hit that thumbs up down below. That way it helps the YouTube gods say, hey, people like this video, let's send it to more people on the internet so that more nerds like you and me can watch this video and they can also like it. And that way I can justify spending like 365 days working on this video. Please, like literally, like I'm gonna do the outro here in a minute. Please give me the like, please. I love you. And then let me know in the comments, what were your favorite games of 2020 and what was your game of the year? I'd love to know what you guys have to say. I know a lot of our viewership right now plays a lot of Nintendo games, and I think I only had Animal Crossing on here, so I'd love to see what my Nintendo fans had to say about 2020. And if you guys did enjoy this type of video, don't worry, because next year we're gonna have a brand new one for my top 10 games of 2021. Now, I get it if you're a little impatient and you don't want to wait that long. Stick around for the channel because we're going to have my most anticipated games of 2021 in a couple weeks. I still have to finish putting that together, but I think there's going to be some cool games to look forward to this coming year. And the best way for you to stay notified is to do yourself a favor, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notifications every time a new video comes out. And I will see you guys next time.